and welcome to the Stylo News Intelligence Update. Today, we're breaking down the developing situation in Ukraine, where our analysis suggests a new Russian offensive is beginning to take shape.
This intelligence update is brought to you by our sponsor, ProWave AI. They're the developers behind Stylo Intel Ops, the AI-powered intelligence platform we use for our research. And of course, Stylo News, which is available to you on the web and through mobile apps.
Now, if you've been following the recent headlines, you've probably seen reports about a diplomatic stalemate. Our analysis over the last 2 weeks, however, reveals this might just be a dangerous illusion. You see, the battlefield is shifting in some really critical ways, and that means the risk of a wider conflict appears to be growing. So let's break down the situation.
So let's start with diplomacy. Our top-line assessment, based on consistent intelligence, is that no durable peace settlement is likely in the near term. For all intents and purposes, the diplomatic front is at a complete standstill.
This right here highlights a key part of the current dynamic. Diplomacy is being used less as a pathway to compromise and a lot more like a coercive tool. This kind of messaging suggests an ultimatum, right? A demand that's tied to battlefield momentum rather than a genuine invitation to sit down and negotiate.
And here's the core problem. The positions are just fundamentally incompatible. Russia is seeking security guarantees and territorial outcomes that Ukraine views as nothing short of a strategic defeat. So the crucial takeaway here is that both sides are now using military action to try and force a more favorable position for any potential talks way down the road.
Okay, so with diplomacy stalled, the kinetic reality of the conflict really takes center stage. Let's turn to the battlefield to see exactly how this is playing out, both on the ground and in the air.
On the ground, this war has become a grinding, attritional contest. That just means it's a conflict focused on wearing down the opponent through continuous, heavy losses. Right now, Russia holds the initiative in the east, concentrating its pressure along key axes like Pokrovsk and aiming for slow but very costly gains.
And the fighting itself is just brutal. We're seeing reports of incredibly intense, close-quarters combat. We're talking trench clearing and small unit assaults being met by determined Ukrainian forces who are dug into deep, layered defensive positions. This has really become a high-cost battle for localized gains measured inch by bloody inch.
To counter all this immense ground pressure, Ukraine has escalated its asymmetric strategy. In simple terms, that means using different, often unconventional methods to fight a larger foe. What they're doing is conducting a sustained deep strike campaign, hitting high-value targets far inside Russian-held territory and even Russia itself.
The scope of this campaign is really significant. They're targeting the very sinews of the Russian war effort: oil facilities that provide fuel, naval assets in the Black Sea, and the factories that produce drones and aircraft. This demonstrates a very clear strategic intent to degrade Russia's ability to sustain its offensive operations over the long term.
This kind of back-and-forth escalation naturally brings up a critical question for the international community. So, what, then, is the threat to NATO?
Our assessment indicates the primary threat to the alliance is not a deliberate invasion. Instead, it's the increasing risk of a miscalculation or an accidental spillover from the intense fighting that's happening right on its borders.
And there are several potential ways this could happen. We could see debris from strikes landing on member territory, a miscalculation during aerial intercepts, or even coercive actions by Russia, whose official rhetoric increasingly frames Europe as an active participant in the war.
A key geographic flashpoint is the Romania-Rini corridor. It's a vital artery for Ukrainian exports and has seen repeated incidents. Now, whether it's accidental or not, this recurring pattern of Russian drones and debris impacting NATO territory creates a persistent risk of a direct confrontation.
Of course, this conflict isn't happening in a vacuum. So let's take a step back and examine the key international players and how their perspectives are shaping the landscape.
Each major power is operating under a different set of assumptions. Moscow appears to see an opportunity to press its advantage. Kyiv remains completely focused on securing sustained Western aid simply to survive. Meanwhile, the current U.S. administration's skepticism about NATO creates strategic uncertainty, while the EU provides crucial support but struggles with its own internal divisions. These conflicting perspectives are pulling the conflict in very different directions.
So putting this all together, what should we be watching for in the coming weeks? Our analysis has identified 3 key indicators.
First, keep an eye on any signs of Russian mobilization for a new, larger offensive. Second, watch for continued activity along NATO's borders, particularly in those Romanian and Baltic corridors. And third,
we'll need to assess the ongoing effectiveness of Ukraine's deep strike campaign and its real-world impact on Russia's war machine. These will be the bellwethers of the conflict's next phase.
And this leaves us with the central and frankly troubling question. With diplomacy effectively off the table, and both sides escalating their military actions to gain leverage for a negotiation that may be months or even years away, is a wider, more dangerous conflict now more likely?
We explore that very question and provide a much deeper analysis of these events in our full Stylo News Intelligence Update, which is available now.
You can find the full briefing on your favorite listening platform, or you can simply follow the link included with this post.
Thank you for watching. To get AI-powered news on demand, you can visit us at www.stylistnews.com.